Hello, it's Barbara here, your favorite longtime professional home care personal support worker, union steward, certified co-chair of a joint health and safety committee, and science and medical nerd. This video is going to be for everyone. This is a subject very near and dear to me. I was hearing on the radio how there are a few more cases of measles in Canada. The numbers are going up all over. Letters are being sent to parents ahead of March break, warning about this. Now, to qualify myself, I have been vaccinated with everything that I needed from when I was a child, including the measles. When I started to work for the employer I currently work with, I had to provide my immunization record, which I did not have. So I went to the doctor and had something called a titer test done, which measures the amount of antibodies in your bloodstream. Turns out I was lacking the ones for measles. So yeah, it did wear off. I still had the mumps and rubella, so I had to take the shot again. That was 12 years ago, so I am protected. I'm going to tackle this in sections, and I do have stuff up on my laptop, and I've also written a few notes down. Usually I just wing these things, but with this one, there's just so much information. I wanted to keep everything straight and try to keep this short, although I think I'll fail anyway, just because of the subject matter. Number one, measles is a viral infection that lives in the mucous membranes of your nose, throat, and mouth. You can catch it by contact with these fluids, contact with surfaces the germs may have landed on, and also airborne. You can get it from breathing the same air as someone who has it. It is one of the most contagious diseases. And here's where I'm going to go into something called the R0. You may remember this from COVID. R0 is basically a value stating how many people an infected person can infect. For example, the common cold, the R0 is 2 to 3, which means I can infect 2 to 3 people. COVID is anywhere from 0.4 to 5.7, and that varies because there's so many different variants of it. Chickenpox is 10 to 12. Measles has the highest R0 at 12 to 18. Now, for those who are infected, they can spread it for 4 days before the rash shows until 4 days after. And it can live for up to 2 hours on the air. Symptoms. 1 to 2 weeks after the measles infection, you can have a cough, you can spike a fever up to 104, you can have red watery eyes, also known as conjunctivitis, and a cough. Now, 2 to 3 days after those symptoms begin, you can get something called Koplik spots, which are little white spots in the mucosa of the mouth. 3 to 5 days after that is when you get the measles rash. Bumps, white spots, they can join together, and again, fever may spike to 104. That's dangerous in itself. 98.6 is in the normal range. As the higher the temperature, which is your body's response to fighting it off, it can cook your brain. Complications. Groups that are at higher risk. They're generally pretty much the same across any disease you run into for the most part. It's children under 5, adults over 20, women who are pregnant, those who are immunocompromised, such as having leukemia or HIV, or perhaps they're undergoing cancer treatment. Common complications, ear infections and diarrhea. Severe complication in children and adults. Hospitalization, pneumonia, encephalitis. That's a swelling of the brain, and that can cause a lot of problems. The children could be left deaf or with an intellectual disability. And of course, there's death and some complications with childbirth, women giving birth prematurely, or a low birth weight baby. These stats are for people who aren't vaccinated. Long-term complications, there's something called SSPE, which is, and I can never remember it, subacute sclerosing panencephalitis. It's a rare but fatal disease of the central nervous system. It develops 7 to 10 years after the person has had measles, even though they seem to have fully recovered. The risk of developing it is higher in a person who was infected before the age of 2. Now, the vaccine. The measles vaccine is made from attenuated live viruses. That just means it's been weakened. The reason why is it needs to get a rise out of your immune system. Essentially, you inject it, your immune system's going along doing its business, and in comes the vaccine saying, oi, 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 wake up, what's going on? And then the virus causes a bit of an infection in your body in order to get your immune system to create the antibodies it needs to fight it if it runs into it again. Yes, there are side effects. There may be pain and redness on the site. You can feel awful for a few days and have a fever. That's your body going into overdrive making the antibodies. Now, the efficacy is 85 to 95% with the first dose and just about 100% with the second. Again, not everyone would be able to take the vaccine because they may react to something in it or have an allergy. So talk to your doctor about that one. Now, vaccines do not cause autism. There was a man named Andrew Wakefield, and I have dropped the title of doctor because he was stripped of his credentials. You see, he was paid to write a report stating that vaccines cause autism. And there have been studies done 6 ways from Sundays that has completely disproven that. So he has been discredited and his credentials taken from him, and yet people still believe this. And the funny thing is, those people were vaccinated, and they're playing fast and loose with their children. And it especially irks me because children rely on us to take care of them, to defend them, and protect them. And yet, They're having this hesitancy, and oh, well, because of what this fake doctor said, I'm going to believe it and I'm not going to vaccinate my children, possibly condemning them to damage and or death. They rely on us to protect them, and we're falling down on the job. Another thing with the vaccine, children under the age of 1 cannot have it. So they are at highest risk for getting sick because they have no protection whatsoever, other than if there's an outbreak, keeping them home and wearing masks yourself and washing your hands. Those standard procedures. Now, some of you who are a bit nerdy, such as myself, may say that, well, I thought they eliminated it in 1998 in Canada. Well, here's the thing with that. Going beyond the physics at which stage matter can be neither created nor destroyed, it just transforms, you can never eliminate these things. It will always live somewhere. Smallpox, for example, they say they've eliminated that, but it still exists in some labs in some places. What they mean by having been eliminated in Canada in 1998 means that there were no longer any cases happening here. Anything that happens, somebody would generally have brought it in. And on that note, there's the plague. You may remember that from the Middle Ages-ish time. Well, it wasn't eradicated either. There's a handful of cases in the US every single year. So we can't get away from it. It's always there hiding until the conditions are right. When it comes onto the scene and says, hello, babies, have you missed me? Well, I think that's it for this. I've gone on almost 15 minutes. I'm going to have to edit it down. But please, I would like you all to stay healthy, stay safe, vaccinate your children, even vaccinate yourself if you're unsure. Talk to your doctor about that first, though. And I will see you on the flip side.